guys, it's been a while since I've done a tool overview as I was enjoying some time off, but now we are back. And today we are exploring Brand24, which is a AI-powered social listening and media monitoring tool, and it helps brands track mentions across the web in real time. And it doesn't matter whether it's about social media, blogs, news, forums, podcasts, Brand24 captures it all. First of all, special thanks to Bud for showing me around and give me access to play around with this tool as well. And Brand24 is just way too good to not be sharing with you guys, so let's dive in. So at its core, Brand24 is a brand monitoring platform that collects mentions of your keywords, for example, your brand name, across digital media. It applies AI for like sentiment analysis, emotion analysis. It detects like spikes and anomalies. It looks at your share of voice, influencer scores, and much more. Special shout out to Brand24 for the pricing transparency and clarity. So they have a very detailed overview on the website around different tiers and what is included, what is not included. And obviously with digital media, there is so many channels that you can analyze. Again, they're very transparent about which ones are included. So let's just log in and look around, shall we? Okay, so first of all, you need to create a project, and in that project you need to add keywords that you would like to look for. Now, obviously I was prepared, so I decided to take a look at Canva. We'll love it. And one thing that I need to mention is that if you're looking for keywords that are not as maybe unique to your business, yes, you can look at keywords, but if you say, for example, you want to look at the mentions of your brand name, and your brand name is not necessarily something as unique, then the guys from the Brand24 will be able to set it up for you by including and excluding certain keywords. All right, guys, let's start with mentions first of all. So this is basically where the tool shows you where and how the keywords that you saved in your project are being used. So you can see, you can look at mentions versus reach, you can look at the time period, also things like channels and sources, and more details around what people actually saying and which tone. You can look at geolocation, language, if you're looking for specific authors, for example, or like journalists. There is also, like, if you don't want to go through all the details, you can just look at summary. So you can look at most popular mentions versus latest mentions, and just genuinely get like a quick understanding of where people talking about your brand or your particular keywords. The other cool thing is AI Insights. So as you imagine yourself, what it does, it looks at everything, so everything the tool collects, but instead of you just going and looking at it for hours, it summarizes everything for you. Here, you know, the competitiveness of it, etc. The other thing is AI listening. Again, a very cool feature that is not available in some of the pricing tiers, so be careful with this one. However, especially if you are a brand like Canva, for example, you need to invest in this kind of things, because it gives you like the share voice. It looks at chatbots, it looks at different prompts as well, which is obviously very relevant in 2025. The other cool thing here is AI Brand Assistant. So you can ask different questions and it will essentially analyze everything that's within your project and it will spit the answer. So for example, in here, what are the strengths and weaknesses compared to competitors? So what Brand24 will do now is analyze all the data that it has about your brand, and it gives you a summary. Now, you can see here, it is a short summary. You can go into more detail, but then you can also look at other questions like, okay, well, what are the top influencers in this particular area. Again, it's just downloading all the conversation data, analyzing the question, and then it will give you the answer about that. Then you also have AI topic analysis. So it kind of looks at things that are related to keywords that you're looking for. For example, with Canva, you might be looking at video content creation, right? And you can look at how many mentions it has, where those mentions are coming from. Again, it kind of brings you back to that mentions tab. You can look at the reach, share voice, and even sentiment share. For more details, if you click on it, you can also see at kind of like the context of discussion and things like occurrences and category share, which I think is pretty cool and pretty detailed for you to understand kind of where those mentions are coming from, what is the general mood of those, what are the emotions, and even emoji analysis. Hello, like how cool is that? The other cool feature here is comparison. So what you could do is, depending on your pricing tier, you can have another project that you compare your project with. So for example, you have a main competitor you like to track. And what you do is, like, say for example, we like to look at Adobe now. So you create another project and then it will compare those two keywords for you, which is really, really cool. So obviously at the moment it's kind of gathering mentions. You can also create email alerts that are daily or weekly about this. And here you go, you can look straight away at a very detailed overview around mentions, where those mentions are coming from, what's the general kind of sentiment around those, where they're positive, negative, etc. What's the share voice, sentiment breakdown, etc. Again, very detailed for you to do your analysis. You can also look at your sources. As you can see, it kind of switched to Adobe project at the moment. So I can switch back to Canva and continue looking at all my analysis that I need to do. So if we're looking at like comparison right now, what's very interesting is it also gives you suggestions about what to add. So for example, it's not just Adobe, it's Adobe Express. So it's quite clever in looking at what else is out there in terms of the market. The other thing to mention is influencers. So it could be influencers that are kind of like more channel related, like rock, or it could be more related to people or companies. Like you can see like Jack Jerry here. Here you go. So you can actually look at people as much as other brands. Just to kind of like dive back into this whole keywords situation here. So you need to have your primary keyword that you're looking for, but you can also be more specific around required keywords and excluded keywords. So the things that you want to track in addition or would like to exclude from tracking. Be quite specific about the sources that you'd like to track, and things like that. One thing to mention, the Brand24 guys will be able to assist you in setting everything up to make sure that it's the most relevant to your project. When we're talking about the geolocation, you can also look at where people are coming from based on a map. So it's not necessarily just that mentions overview where you look at geolocation. You can also look at it in a slightly different way. What I quite like about this tool is how user-friendly it is. Like you can look at even who is representing you. You can look straight away at what tier you're in, what's involved, what's included, what's excluded. Sorry. You can change your subscription. So everything is in one place. And this is something that I really like about this tool. Like the user friendliness of it is on point. And I have to say, like, I haven't even it didn't need that much of onboarding. it was quite self-explanatory. Right, another thing to mention is integrations. So of course it has like some integrations already, like Teams, Slack, LinkedIn, etc. You can also look at latest changes that have been made to the tool, and you have a chatbot. We can chat to Brand24 team straight away. Other thing to mention is emotion analysis. I mean, they say I can't feel it, but Brand24 is trained to essentially understand how people are writing about certain things, like whether they're writing with, you know, admiration or anger or fear. And obviously things like that are still limited in my personal opinion, but it is a very, very good start, especially if you are a big brand name or you're looking after a particular keyword and you, for example, want to be very specific in your content strategy. So very useful indeed. Right, guys, something else to mention. So the marketeers would know that for sure. Like when you put content plan together, you also need to know on this, like at least have a basic understanding of when is a good time to post. And this also will help you in this content creation, because you can look at when things have been mentioned, you know, what's the kind of like the hot times for posting about things. Like you can see like Monday 1 p.m, you know, there are things are happening. People are talking about you, they're posting, they you know, mentioning you, etc. So another cool feature. As I said, I think this tool is just way too good to not be mentioned to you. Again, every tool has its user case. I do think that with Brand24, it might not be as relevant for small teams, but more relevant for SMEs and you know, someone who, for example, has a name that's more unique. I mean, I have tested this with some of my client names. Some of them were more successful than the others, so I will be completely honest with you. The good thing about this tool is, as I said, the team at Brand24 are on hand to help you to set everything up, making sure that it is relevant and useful to you. So all I would say, give it a go. It's definitely a tool that stole my heart. So again, thank you Brand24 team for allowing me to play around with it. I am not affiliated with the guys, so this is just a recommendation just from the heart. Enjoy, guys.